Hey everybody, how's it going? It's JayborinoPlays here. I am here with some special guests, members of the Team Antioch team. I have LucidIguana and Threeks, two members that you will find on their project page on SC2 Mapster. We're here to talk about the upcoming, highly anticipated Episode 3 for Antioch Chronicles Remastered, as well as how progress has gone for them during Episode 1 and Episode 2, and they're very new to the editor, but they've made a very, very good set of maps, so I really wanted to talk to them. I've done interviews with mapmakers in the past who are very familiar with the editor, so I think this is a great opportunity to talk to some people that have broken into it and have come out with a really good product here. So they're actually sharing their screen with me now, and they've got the editor open, so I'm excited to see what they have to share with me. So I just want to thank you guys for coming on, and again, if you want to introduce yourselves.
Sure. I'm Adrian, quote-unquote, LucidIguana, Betridge Weesey. I've done most of the trigger work for episodes 1 and 2, and a little bit of terrain work here and there. I was also the guy crazy enough to suggest that we do this thing, which was really just a lark back when I was talking about it in April. So it's been pretty great.
And I'm Skylar Redman, aka Threeks. I do the vast majority of our data editing, and then also do a lot of geography and just a teeny tiny bit of terraining.
Great, cool. So I guess let's get to what I think most people want to hear about the most. I do want to talk about like the Antioch Chronicles back, like the old site and the community of Brood War and such, but like I kind of want to jump right into Episode 3. Is there anything you guys want to reveal about Episode 3, or where you are in terms of development, or what your plans are, and how it's going to relate to the original plans for Episode 3 way back in the day?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, what you're seeing up on the screen right now is just a little bit of a teaser. So, it's kind of the perennial joke in the Antioch community. And to be clear, the Antioch community is like 7 guys still hanging around on the same web form. That is unfair. It is not all guys. There are actually several women there. And so I apologize for that. But so there are a bunch of us who have just hung around in the same web forum, which is essentially dead, other than, some dick and fart jokes and everybody once in a while making fun of each other or wishing somebody a happy birthday. So we've like joked for a long time about making an Episode 3. And then when I sort of half-heartedly suggested, well, what about putting episodes 1 and 2 in the editor? The immediate response from a bunch of people was, well, what about making Episode 3? Which we kind of ignored for a while. But then we're working on it, and we're making like way more progress than we expected to, and things are going well. And so we actually started to really talk about what it would take to make an Episode 3. And if you're sort of plugged into the community of, the Antioch Chronicles, there is a script that was released back when the thing fell apart. And so we looked at the script, and we didn't think that it was going to be a good fit for our project for a variety of reasons. So one of the main reasons was that it has a bunch of lingering plot threads for what was planned to be a second trilogy of campaigns known as the War of the Chroniclers. But also just storytelling techniques, honestly, have changed in 15 years. And some of it was sort of fell flat, and some of it just didn't play very well to us. So the first thing, honestly, that we did was tear the whole script down into its sort of component pieces, suss out the overarching plot, and then we wrote a couple of story treatments that ran through a hypothetical campaign. We had a few meetings about them, and then we wrote a new script. So the script that we are producing is not the script that was originally released. It has actually a lot in common with it. Many of the same plot arcs. Several of the really good lines have definitely made it into our script. But we wanted to have something new, and something that, a script that everybody could read wasn't also particularly great fun for us.
And for the record, no one says, I heard it in a movie once.
Yeah, never. I did put a single pop culture reference in the script for old time's sake. But there are no, I heard it in the movie once, I saw it on TV once, lines. So what you're seeing in front of you is actually one of the maps that is essentially complete minus voice acting here. This is mission 3-2, which is called Go Time. And I will not spoil the plot excessively, except to say that a group of Terrans finds themselves inside a nexus that is under attack, and they need to extricate themselves. So what you're seeing here is the center of the nexus, and I'm going to zoom out now. So this is but one floor of the nexus. I'm just going to keep going. So this is actually, I think that of all the maps that we've done, this map is a great example of the teamwork that happens here. So this is geography from Dine. I know him. I can't help. Sorry. So Threeks Dine did the geography for this map, handed it off to the former with the evocative name of SC Brood SC2, aka Phoenix, and he did an incredible job of making this nexus happen. There are some in-game effects that I can't show you right now that are just awesome. When he finished building out the framework of the nexus, he handed it off to Wargirl, who I suspect most people will recognize the name, and she then took another pass and made it, well, even more Protoss-y. And then we got around to building the actual map out itself and tore the whole place up. And so there are all sorts of cool details I'd like to show you here. You can see a hole in the floor. You can see our friends down there still holding their ground. And so outside in Shakuris, oh, did I just say where the Nexus was? So this is the Executor Citadel in New Antioch. Here's a Vespane Leak, etc. So this is the map that is most complete, which it's probably 95% trigger complete, and it just needs voice acting. Right now, if you were to play it, you get to hear a bunch of really pleasant computer-generated voices, which is what we've been using. So the campaign overall has, and I think somebody might need to correct me here, it has 9 main plot missions, as well as a prequel, or so prologue rather, a prologue and an epilogue. We are also bringing with that what we're calling interludes, 2 interludes designed to fit between episodes 1 and 2 and episodes 2 and 3, which are really just 5-minute, basically cutscenes, which skip between a few sets of characters or try to give some background. So the first one focuses on Trench and his history before becoming actually Trench, when he was just Trent Master. And then there's Moloch and sort of pre-history, and then Gurney and Mox before they get up to their nonsense tricks that you learn about later in episode 2. And the second set of them, I'm not going to tell you about. They have another set of characters and some things that you don't know about yet, but we built these out to just be a little more engrossing and try to give some more information about the characters. I actually am going to hand over, speaking of these interludes, I'm going to hand over the screen here to Freaks, if I can figure out where the controls are. There we go.
You know, actually, while you transition here, I actually wanted to kind of bring up, because it's something you said about having a team, and like you said, I think like Wargirl specifically is very well known in the SC2 Mapster community, and this kind of ties into the idea of like Brood War community as well, and how I think the Brood War community was I don't want to say it was cliquish. It certainly felt much more closed in. Like I think at the start it was very open, and then as time went on and the game aged, I think there was a lot of close-knit communities that they liked their little space and they didn't want anybody else there. But I think that's something that SC2 doesn't really have. In fact, it never really had the big community to start with, and that's something that kind of bothers me, because when you see big projects on the scale of either Mass Recall or the Perfect Soldiers trilogy or Biotech, Marauders, all of these really good campaigns, if this was during the Brood War time, these are examples of campaigns that would have had their own website and huge communities on the forums talking all about kind of like fan fiction and all sorts of stuff, and it makes me wonder what happened. I mean, I think we all know what happened. The editor is very complex, the arcade is difficult to use, and there's no real support from Blizzard. When, not to get into too much bashing on that end, but I guess from your perspective, I mean, of course I don't want to derail too much. So if you want to answer this and then go ahead and go back into what you're talking about, I guess what do you guys see as the main difference from your perspective coming from an older Brood War community?
Well, So I wasn't really a StarCraft 1 modder. I did work on one conversion, a Star Wars conversion, but I wasn't super big in the community. I will say, I remember there was a time when Antioch was seeing hundreds of posts a day or something. Probably that's probably exaggeration, but like 100 posts a day, not outside the realm possibility at all, right? It had a massive following, and so it was sort of weird for me. I picked up StarCraft 2. I played through the campaign. I didn't play online much. I played through HOTS. I was not involved in the community at all until this. But I think Reeks actually can speak a little more, because I know that he was involved in the StarCraft 1 modding community and also StarCraft 2. So why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I was an admin on the samods.org website that some people are familiar with from SC1 days. It is a lot different, though. I know back then it was very big, and you always felt like no matter what you said, there were people listening. Whereas with StarCraft 2 community, a lot of times you post stuff on the forums, and it's like you get like one or two responses, and it's like, is there anyone out there, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which is it's very different. I feel like the StarCraft 2 is such a great game and has so much potential, but the community that plays it is a lot older now, because a lot of the players are people, or a lot of the players in the map editing community, I should say. I think that there's a different community for the melee version of the game, but I think that a lot of the people are a lot older now and have less time is part of what contributes to that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I still think it's a great community. SC2 Mapsters, I mean, if I ask a question on there, I've usually got an answer within a day or two, There's a lot of people that are still pretty active. So I think it's a good community. I think it's just that, like you said, that it's a much smaller community.
Right. Cool. Okay. Well, I guess why don't you tell us about what you brought up here?
All right.
Sure.
Can you guys see that all right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So first thing we got here, some people might recognize this from the Liberty campaign, but we kind of made our own changes here. We've got kind of an older Trench, or younger Trench, I suppose.
Pre before even becoming Trench, he's just Trench.
Yeah, that's just Trent Astor back there. And then a character that you'll recognize from some people will recognize from the episode 3 script that was released. We did include Haley Rourke here. So for anyone that was wondering, some of the characters we included, she is one of them, which we have an excellent model for her provided to us by AV from the SC2 community.
Oh, wow, that is cool. From the other angle, I thought, I'm like, oh, it's a reskinned Nova, but that's like a whole new...
Yeah, it's got like different hair and stuff. It's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a different gun and stuff. We've been really lucky. That's one of the things about the SC2 community that I would say that the SC1 community didn't quite have as much of, is
talent.
Talent. Like artists that are just like amazing. Not to say that we didn't have them back then too. There were some people that were working in the 3D editor and building, portraits and stuff. I think that with the ability to add so much more assets in StarCraft 2, though, like we're seeing a lot more of that talent, like actually doing stuff.
Yeah, I was completely blown away when I got on Mapster for the first time and saw just buckets and buckets of assets. Where if this had been a StarCraft 1 project, well, we were just kind of we were going to go with the best that we had. But I mean, at this point, we've got contributions from 10 people at least, just in various things that we're using, splats and textures and custom modeling work that people have been kind enough to do. It's been really, really great. So yeah, so what you're seeing here, the other thing that's really, really impressed me about the SC2 community versus the StarCraft 1 community is how clever they are. And just like the usage of doodads and the sort of like orthogonal thinking of turning everything on its side and turning it into a wall or what have you. And this interlude map, this is in interlude 1, which I believe is called Better Times, name pending, has this is work of Phoenix. We'll go over the easy one to say. So this is work of Phoenix here almost entirely, and he did some things that just like I had never seen and never even thought of. So for example, sticking Joey Ray's bar in there, and then there are 2 other really cool places to just show off here. You want to scoot down to Char. So so one of the challenges to put 9 scenes in one map requires like really clever doodad work and some serious self-restraint in textures. And so when he handed this over to us, and we're like, wait, this, like, he put a custom skybox bubble over tar here. And then, right, so you can see that. And there's this one other just absurd thing that he did, which is,
It's like a char snow globe.
Right, it's a char snow globe. So there's this one other just completely absurd thing that he did, which happened because we said, well, this would be cool, but it's way too hard, which is that Alavice, I don't know how we're supposed to say his name. He just posted this picture from the StarCraft fiction of a Protoss meeting space, like the Conclave or something in space. And I said, wouldn't this be nice? And then, and so Phoenix hands us this thing, right? Which is, I don't know, like
whoa,
100 doodads or something. But look at this, just it's very hard to get a camera angle from inside, but
that's very cool.
This is Moloch pre-Dark Templar days, plus, well, Japak is somewhere in here, as is Loriok, and they are having a conversation about some events that recently took place in the province of Sion, or rather that are taking place.
And this just looks awesome, and this is, I mean, this kind of, I imagine, is encompassing that huge knowledge dump we got at the beginning of Mission 6 in Episode 2, and I think that's why I'm so excited to see what you guys do with Episode 3, because you have the ability to kind of break out and do something more independent, as opposed to following a remake. And I said this at the end of my epilogue earlier when this is getting released in my epilogue video, that you're kind of restrained by the original. I'm not saying that the original is bad in any way, but when you're remaking something, you're tied into the original concept, and now you guys can take these ideas and make your own thing, and it just opens so many doors. It's really exciting to see, and I think that's what can make the community as a whole even better. Like you said, people are clever, and that's exactly what you guys are doing. You guys are working as a team, and you can come up with something like this. This is so cool when you just imagine like the Conclave meeting inside of a big temple-like thing. It's like a StarCraft 1 briefing, but you're actually there.
Right. Yeah, and so there will be no briefing screens in Episode 3. We did briefly discuss it. Ooh, sorry for the pun. But we did discuss having, just keep it like really old school, have the briefing screens. But we skipped that in favor of a sort of more dynamic approach. We're still using the StarCraft Mass Recall mod. And I would like to just take a moment to pause and say that the StarCraft Mass Recall guys are, I say guys again, I don't actually know. Well, Telenel, who I've worked with a ton, and Jones are the two that I've talked to, but incredibly generous to have let us piggyback on their mountain of work to make this. Without having that ability, I would have been just a massive undertaking, or we'd have, just made some serious compromises, not done it StarCraft 1 style at all, pick some StarCraft 2 analog units, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But and so it's not just that, but the maps for Episodes 1 and 2 are just straight implementations of their trigger engine. I don't know if that's exactly the right thing to say. Their briefing screens, it just would not have been possible without them. So that was just that generosity in letting us use those assets. And then a lot of time when we were getting started, and I had no idea what I was doing, explaining to me what had gone wrong in various passes where, the maps are just like completely dysfunctional, or my AI isn't doing anything. So they deserve really serious praise for really just the generosity.
Yeah, that really is a great mod and set of maps in general. I think that one of the cool things about it is while Telenol and Jones and Gradius and Jim, I would say those 4 have put in the most work into creating all that. What's even cooler is so many bits and pieces of that mod are taken from other individual assets that people have put on SC2 Mapster, and then you guys can take that mod and use it in your own project. And it just kind of compounds what you're saying about things building on each other and how you can take other things from other people with different assets. It's really cool.
Yeah. So we have a couple other maps we could show you, but I think that you sort of get the idea. If you have any more questions about the campaign, we'd be happy to talk about it.
Tell me how it ends.
in tears and fire.
So I guess one thing that I particularly am interested in, and this is something that I liked bringing up when I talked to Talonel and Jones as well, is I'm sorry, I didn't talk to Jones. When I talked to Talonel and I talked to Ivandel, is so you open up the editor, and this is a question posed specifically to you two because you were fairly new to the editor when you started. Is what did you do? You opened up the editor. You may have had a map that was terrain from other people, and you stared at it and you said, "What am I doing?" How did you get started? What was the barrier to entry? What was the best learning experience, and what was the very first thing you did?
Well, the very first thing I did was crack open the editor and see how the legacy map import did. Spoiler, not great. And incredibly unreliable. Through the time that we did this, we did all of the episode 1 map, or episode 1 and 2 maps. That's not, with the exception of the installation maps, were legacy imports. And I saw some really great performance from those, and I saw some incredibly weird performance, like one map, it was like 1.8. When we did the initial import, it was completely populated with units. They were invisible, they had no types, but they took up every unit that was in the StarCraft 1 map was there. Exactly in the right place, except that it was invisible and it didn't do anything. Right, just totally wild stuff.
Actually, real quick, let me interrupt you. If one of you wants to go ahead and pull your screen up so we can look at something here.
Yeah, I'm doing that right now.
Okay, perfect. Sorry to interrupt you.
No problem. So this is episode 1, mission 1. This is where it all began.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a seriously lightweight little map. Nothing happens on it. You might remember.
Oh yeah.
And you can feel that this was Ruben Ospex Tomales Moreno, who did 100% of the work for episode 1. All of the voices, all of the maps was all Ruben. And he did it like a month or two after StarCraft came out. It was just incredible. So you can feel that this was him getting his feet wet. This was sort of appropriate place to get my feet wet. So I did the legacy import. I messed around with the terrain tool. I really was just messing around and just trying to figure stuff out. I cracked open the trigger editor, and I am hoping that these triggers are still as bad as when I did it on that first day. I really think that I might have fixed them, which is unfortunate. So I didn't know a thing about this editor. I didn't even really look at what other people had done other than to just copy and paste the set of triggers from StarCraft Mass Recall mod, this set of stuff, this labeled stolen from SCMR.
Very fitting.
Right? To just sort of get an idea of what they had going on. But, so you can see here that I went through and just copied the triggers exactly as they fell. Same, folder names, which just taking the players, right? Same trigger names. And so you can see I did stuff here that just was just stupid. Variable set switch 1 equals true. Well, I didn't do that, right? But I didn't know anything. I just sort of forged ahead like a blind idiot and made a map that kind of worked. They had a lot of things that were wrong with it. And that's what I used to sort of entice the Antioch forum into helping. I basically said, hey guys, I made this thing. It's terrible. Anybody want to help? And unbelievably, we had a lot of volunteers very quickly. Dine and Al, as I call him, Alavice, volunteered, as well as Dark T Zeratul is his screen name. It has always been his screen name. As far as I'm concerned, he was the first person with that screen name. And DTZ, as I call him, and I were day 1 forum goers. I don't remember, Dine, were you a day 1 Antioch forum guy?
I said that I would help, but I didn't really have a lot of time at that moment, so it was probably like a week or 2 into it that I really started helping.
Oh, sorry, I meant original Antioch forum.
No, I was in the second version of the forum.
So we've all of the quote unquote Antioch Forever guys, the people who hang out on our what is basically just social club forum, we've all known each other now for 10 to 15 years. And so we all hopped in, and the joke was that it was going to be a disaster, and it wasn't, obviously. But
hold on. So he says that, and I want to say that he's the reason why it wasn't a disaster.
It was, or it wasn't?
It was not. He was the reason it was not a disaster. One of the things I think that he's one of the reasons why this has gone as well as it has. I've worked on StarCraft 1 projects, and part of it is our tools. We have a lot better tools now, not just in the Galaxy editor, but in the non, like just our communication tools, our ability. We use SVN instead of like Drive or whatever. But also, I consider all of these people that, granted, I was already friends with some of them, but the new people as well, who I've just met, 2.5 months ago, I consider friends. And it's because Adrian has built a community for us instead of just telling us what to do. Like, I have our chat channels open whenever I'm at my computer, and whether I'm talking about Antioch or just shooting the shit, that I think is a big reason why this has gone so well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have an incredible team. And I will be honest, so in my day job, I'm a software project manager. I work for a software consulting firm. So what I do for a hobby is what I do for a living, which kind of sounds like a sickness sometimes, but has worked out really well for us. And we just have an incredible team who've all been very, they're the people who have, especially the people who joined the team after we got started, with the exception of Al, who actually is really, really good and knew what he was doing. He was one of the early crusaders in the data editor in the beta. So he's got a long history of it. But the people who've joined the team and not made everybody feel like idiots as they're showing us, what's what. We've got a great community of just, learning. And so many of the things that we've done are not perfect, right? And we have really never let that stop us. I think anybody who looks at the change log can see that we just spew out patches as fast as we can, with the exception, the expectation rather that it's going to be broken, mm-hmm. right? And sometimes we get ugly regressions, and sometimes we get really ugly regressions. But it's generally a march forward, and we just keep putting the product out there and keep refining it. So, when I started working in the editor, I didn't know you had to turn triggers off. So, and I was hoping it was still in this map, and I suspect it's somewhere. I was doing it the old school way, where you set a switch, and then you turn that switch off, and you only fire the trigger if the switch is on. And then Al handed me a map back, and it's got all of these turn trigger off things in it. My head just exploded, right, with possibilities. And it's really what it's about, right? It's not hard, but it is complicated. Right, there are a lot of moving pieces. There are a lot of things, and even we have moments in the chat now where Phoenix, who rigged up this amazing floating unit thing and is an expert at making our maps not super slow, recently, just the other day, was asking, well, how do I change the damage that units take? Right, there are so many triggers. You can't possibly expect it to learn them all. The Mapster API reference is great, but incomplete in many cases. And there's just really no replacement for sticking your hands in there, screwing everything up, and trying to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard, right? It's very easy to get discouraged. When this map was a flat, basically featureless, zero doodads with some lumps on it, and I was trying desperately to make the stupid Zerg attack when you built a Nexus. It took me 3 hours, right? And so it's easy to give up there. But if you just keep at it, right, you keep learning. Now, maps that I would have never been able to do 2.5 months ago, I'm only expecting to take me 20 or 30 hours, right? Mm-hmm. And I bet by the time we're done with episode 3, those maps will only take me 10 or 15 hours.
I think that's very eloquently put, and it's pretty much. I think it's like any hobby or work-related thing. I guess if you hate it so much, then it shouldn't be your hobby. But I think there's a lot of people who open it and they get discouraged, and I just wish that I could tell those people to try again, just once or twice. Like, keep trying, and I get the same advice from others as well. Is use copy paste liberally, and then just bang your head constantly until you can get it to work with what you're doing, and that's how you learn. That's just how it works. Because I think a lot of people, they think, oh, if I copy paste, I'm never going to learn. When in essence, I think that's the start. Like, you stand on the shoulders of people who have done hard work, and you use that to learn yourself.
Absolutely. And so coming from the software world, a software engineer's number one skill is how well they use Google.
Absolutely.
Right. And so just the ability to be able to look and find the people who've solved your problem and employ those resources. One of the things that I'd like to do, I've been bad about it, but I would like to be more helpful around the community, and I'm trying to stick in a little more and offer my help where I can, because there are lots of people who are running into the same things. Like, why isn't my AI attacking? This is the thing. Like, actually, just before I pushed the fix to Mac 2.7, I spent a bunch of time relearning what it takes to make the AI attack, because somehow I forgot somewhere along the line. Mm-hmm. Stuff breaks, and it's just fine to fix it, right? Don't give up.
Well, I got to say, a special thanks to both of you in particular, because I think there were maybe 2 or 3 times, and I'm not saying this as a negative to you guys, because I'm about to say things were like horribly broken, like unplayable. Oh, yeah. And I would message you. I'm like, I need to put this video up tomorrow. I mean, in reality, I didn't have to. I'm putting videos on YouTube, but I'm like, just to keep up with a schedule, preferably tomorrow. And you fixed it within like a couple hours, and you'd send it back to me, and I would get them up. And that was just like, it's crazy. Like, at my job, I don't expect people to react that fast.
Yeah, right. So that's kind of the software world that I come from. We get bugs, we hotfix those things as fast as possible.
Right.
All software is broken. It is a constantly rolling disaster, and you just got to keep out in front of it. And honestly, our maps have been, sometimes a little more disaster than we'd like, right? But we fix them as fast as we can. We are on basically a weekly release schedule now that things are stabilized. And I expect our episode 3 release, maybe it'll go a little better than episodes 1 and 2. But honestly, probably our first version will be pretty buggy. Mm-hmm. And we'll fix them for people, right? And I really appreciate, I know a lot of people have posted, your maps are horribly broken, please let me know when they're fixed. Not, I hate you forever, I'm never touching your maps. Mm-hmm. So that's been actually pretty generous of people too.
The community is surprisingly friendly. Like, you get a few curmudgeons here and there, but for the most part, people will report bugs and not be assholes about it, surprisingly. And that's been surprising for me as well. Even on my own channel, like, I feel like my channel is kind of an extension of SC2 Mapster in a way, and then I get, obviously, a bunch more people, but it's just like the community. Well, the community around it, though, I guess in StarCraft, is surprisingly nice. Like, if you go and play League of Legends, it's just like a nightmare for 75% of the time unless you win the game. But you play StarCraft,
even if you win the game, it's a nightmare.
I know. It's like StarCraft. Yeah, you get terrible people there too. You're getting terrible people in every community, but there's so many times when I'm playing a game and they just like start chatting with me about the game. And I'm like, are we playing right now, or are you just going to like talk to me about the current meta of, whatever? It's just it's a really nice community. It's like, it's surprising to me because everywhere you go, especially on YouTube, it's just shit. It's just a constant flow of shit, and it's crazy how friendly people can be when you share something like this. Because this is more of a niche kind of thing, kind of community. So it's pretty cool. I remember just kind of a slightly different topic. When I realized that your project existed, I went to it, and I realized that you guys were actually utilizing the ticket system. And that's when I was like, oh, these guys are serious. Like, because you were the first project on all of SC2 Mapster that I saw that actually utilized the ticket system and didn't just like say like, just post it in the thread and we'll get to it eventually.
Well, actually, that's a good segue. Let me talk about our tool set. So coming from the software world, I brought a lot of software development tools with me. And so we have tools, collaborative tools, basically, for everything that we do. And it's funny you mentioned the SC2 Mapster ticket. We actually transitioned to that from our internal project tracking software, which I could never have shown to you until just recently, because it would have given away all sorts of secrets. It will still give away a lot of secrets, but I'm going to show you some things. So we use a piece of software for project management called Taiga. Taiga is free, which is what's nice about it. It's actually not what I use at work, but I pay money for the thing at work. So Taiga is free. It is, here, look, I'm polishing on GoTime. It is a great piece of software that lets you administer project management, and I'd be happy to work with anybody who wanted to learn about project management techniques or how to use it. I won't claim to be using this correctly. But so in Taiga, we have this Kanban board. Kanban is a Japanese term that originally derived from manufacturing. It's moved into the software world. It's basically you have cards that represent things, and you move them around to show what their states are. So you can see this is episodes 1 and 2. This is our Kanban board. And so I'll expand this out. At one point, almost all the maps are over here and ready for conversion. And we got most of them in progress. I'm actually going to close that one now. And now we only have one that's in polish, right? And the rest are in testing. And then we've got a few even that are done. So this is what we've used. And so you can see we assign them to people, right? We can leave comments on them. Let's see if there's nothing comparison here. So we have a bunch of subtasks here. Look at all of our heroes that we're working on. There we go. Does NT not appear on the screen? Not seeing voices in the files. This was a weird thing, just tangentially. In the mod downloads from the Antioch webpage, there were no nanothyra doing voice files. That's why they were missing in your early maps. But, and I guess this sort of speaks to who we are as a team. DTZ, Dark Templar Zero Tool, he just happened to have an archived copy of the Antioch mod from, 19 or maybe like 2000.
16 years, whatever.
Right.
We'll just transfer it to a couple different machines along the way, and
yeah, well, one of the forumers sent us his CD backups of the original Antioch web pages. Right. So it's kind of nice to have. But so that's just one example here, this page of something that came up. But we use this tool expansively as we're going through changing statuses. It lets us know what everyone's working on, right? And like maybe I'm technically the project manager. Lets me know what's going on, see who needs things to work on, see what needs to be worked on, right? So that's one tool, Taiga. And I do recommend it. I think that of the 3 project management tools, it is the best. There are many, many project management tools. So I'm not going to say that it's the best one to use for everyone, but for this, it's great. We actually, let's see if I have, yeah. So here's the old issues board, which probably I should clean up sometime. Oops. And these are our internal tickets. And then when we finally had a project on Mapster, we got to start using Mapster's ticket system, which is great because that way we weren't having to move people's stuff into tickets, and people are really good about using it, which I appreciate. So that's one of our tools. We have another tool, which for any software people watching this, they will immediately recognize. It's a chat client called Slack. Slack burst onto the scene. And now has a massive valuation, but it's free too, which is what I like to say. Oh yeah, sorry, here you go. You aren't wrong. That Hangouts thing is awful. Yep. So this is Slack. Slack is a team chat client, and it's free. And I'm going to keep emphasizing we are using almost exclusively tools that are free, and so it's really just what it looks like, right? It's just IRC, but with really nice, pretty colors that comes with its own app. And it has a phone app, and you can use it in your browser. We have tons going on here.
We are never making episode 3.
Yeah. Yeah. When we began our original conversation about episode 3, it was in a channel called We're Never Making Episode 3. So the free version of Slack only saves 10,000 messages. I can't show you message 1 in the chat room, but you can see we have a ton of channels that get going. You can do direct messages. You can have private groups. I cannot recommend this highly enough versus something like Skype. And the reason for that is, 1, Skype is not a very good piece of software, but 2, it just works better. It has a bunch of really cool integrations, things you can never do with Skype. Like, for example, I started a Hangouts by typing /hangout, or and the thing that's been amusing us all recently, right? And this is not. Oh, there we go. It has a GIF. It has a GIF integration.
Is that a farting iguana?
That's a farting iguana. It's remarkably appropriate. I'm going to pull it up so I can stop laughing at it. But it's a really fun piece of software. You can drop files in it. Let me just pull up Mapmaking. Let's see if there's any secrets in here. So here you can see War Girl. She just dropped some screenshots in here of things that she's working on. Hey, this looks familiar. Here's us every night, usually every day, right? We're vigorously refreshing so we can drop the newest Jayborino video in the channel. But you can see we do this, right? We talk about mod work. We talk about episode 3 mod work. That might have been a little spoiler as of today. I believe that Gradius will be joining us to do some audio editing for episode 3.
Awesome. I think he's the right person to ask too, because of subjection. I think the filters that he had on the voices were just spot on.
I can't speak highly enough about this team. War Girl, SE Brood, SE2, you both recognize their names. Al, his terrain work is incredible. The vast majority of Mission 2.2 and of 1.4, these sort of like incredibly dense, high detail maps, those were him. He's done a ton of work all over the place. Dine has proved to just be like awesome at the data editor. Dark T Zeratul is on a little break right now, but he has done a ton of terrain work for us and did really beautiful work. I do some stuff. Honestly, in terms of things that people are good at, I'm way less good at the things that I do than the rest of the team. The key is really like we are, as Dan mentioned, we are really good friends now. All of us, we get along well. We have a pretty serious policy of only committing to what you can actually do, which is fine. Like if you want to come on and work on one map, which was basically like SE Brood, SE2, when he came onto the team, he had a little free time, right? He wanted to work on one map. War Girl wanted to work on a map or two, right? And that's fine. If we take any commitment as long as it's honest, right? We don't want somebody who's going to come on and say, oh yeah, I'll do your whole campaign. And so, that's a policy. Oh, this is like all sorts of spoilers. Actually, I'm going to go with it here.
I'm going to say 3.8. You guys are pretty far into that.
We have a complete script. We have complete geography. Is that right, Dine? All the geography is done now?
No, we still have technically two maps to do geography. One of them is about half done. The other one I haven't started yet.
Awesome.
This is good news because, we don't want another situation where it's like, don't worry, guys. We're doing episode 3. Get really excited. A year passes. Guys, I swear, we're doing episode 3 next year. Okay, I don't think we're going to finish episode 3. 16 years later. I think we're going to remake the undone episode 3.
Right. It is not an elaborate troll. I think that it will take us longer to make episode 3 than it did to make episodes 1 and 2, which is about 2.5 months to make episodes 1 and 2. Mostly because we had to do a lot more work. And I'm not going to make any sort of release date promises, but I have zero doubts about us finishing it.
Cool.
We have serious work ethics. So just as an anecdote, I tend to get up a little early in the mornings and I work on the project. Dine doesn't sleep a whole lot, or at least sleeps at sort of odd hours. War Girl is in an advanced time zone. And so when I get up at 6:30 my time and hop on Slack, we have a fairly regular 6:30 my time team semi-meeting most weekdays. We're committed. So it's going to get done. I won't make any time promises, but I'm very excited about it.
Great. That's great to hear.
Let's see. I wanted to talk about 2 other tools. Again, free tools that are great for collaborative spaces. So we all use Google Docs, right? Everybody has used Google Docs. What I'm going to show you here is a tool called Writer Duet. Please don't load.
Post some spoilers apparently because it's going straight into the script.
Yeah, please don't load in a spoiler time.
Oh no, it's the interlude. Don't worry.
Yeah, right. It's the very beginning of the interlude. And I won't talk about it excessively because I could just show you the whole script. But what we have here, it is a collaborative script writing software. You could use Google Docs, but it has a lot of problems, like not being able to break out people by actor, right? Not being styled easily. So this is another tool I'd really highly recommend that people use. I'm going to pop away from this now before people can read it too quickly. But quick, pause your screen. You can read a page of script.
Oh, wait, so I have a quick confession regarding the script. Sure. So when I recorded the epilogue, I did mention that you guys were looking for an audio editor, which it sounds like you found in Gradius, who I think is probably one of the best options out there because he has great previous work on Subjection. But I also mentioned that you were looking for voice actors because that was what's on your thing. So I apologize if you get like a flood of people who can't voice act. I don't know. I'm just saying. I did mention that in a video.
I would never forgive you if you brought us a bunch of potential voice actors. what a crime you will have waged against us.
Right.
We will need a lot of help from the community to get it done. So, hey, thanks for plugging the project. I'm going to talk about one other tool, and this is the sort of controversial one. This is the tool that makes most people want to quit the project. I'll be honest. Everybody has gotten with it. But so from what I can tell, at least from working with SC Brute, SC2, and with Wargirl, and a couple other people who have stepped in and out of the project, it seems like the StarCraft world works basically with Dropbox. Or, Box, or Drop, or whatever the other, pieces of software that all have the same name on it, right? Sort of file sharing. We do not use those. We use a piece of software called Subversion, which is like the less cool Git. And I know that every software engineer who's listening to this who's like, oh, I thought you were a software guy. I'm just not cool enough for Git. But we use a Subversion server. Subversion is a source code repository.
Right.
And so what it does is it keeps versions of all of your files. So we have a repository that is up to about 2.3 gigs of space right now. This is the one thing that you're going to have to pay for one way or the other. You have to put it on a server somewhere, a central server. But hey, you can get it for free on DreamHost, and you can get a year of DreamHost for $10. I don't get any money if you get a DreamHost account. And honestly, they're not like a great host, but they are cheap.
Nice try, DreamHost spokesperson.
Yeah. So what Subversion does, it's a check-in system. So what happens is every day when you start work, you fire up your terminal. Let me see if I've got one here. Here we go. So you fire up your terminal, or if you're pretty much everyone that's not me, you fire up a nice, easy-to-use built-in tool called Tortoise. You just install it. It gives you a context menu. Honestly, I would use Tortoise if I could, but there's no Mac version. And I use command line anyway, it works. So what you do, you just pop in, you do what's called a Subversion update. I'm already up. And so you might see something like this, where it shows you a bunch of files that have changed. This is the other sort of secret technology that we use. That I'll talk about in a second. And so everything in our maps is under version control. It causes a hiccup every once in a while when, say, we forget to add some parts of the map to the version control. But mostly it means that you can work safely and know that even if you commit some like serious, heinous awfulness onto the map, it's just a revision away. You can just undo it. It should merge things pretty well if two people happen to be touching the same files, as long as they're plain XML. We have run into problems with that on this project, though. So
just yesterday, in fact.
Yeah, the StarCraft 2 editor is very particular about its XML files, and it can occasionally blow up. We had a very interesting thing, I think a lot of people might remember, where for some reason every single doodad in 1.5 got duplicated. All of them. It was unbelievable. I'm sorry, that's wrong. It was not doodad, it was object. Every single object in 1.5 got duplicated. So you'd kill a Hydralisk, there'd be another Hydralisk there. You may remember this. Like, didn't I lock down that turret and it was still attacking you?
Oh, yeah.
It's because there was another turret behind it.
Okay. Well, that explains that. I guess for the uninitiated, some people don't even understand the concept of version control in general. It's basically just so that you don't have people overwriting each other's work. Just at its very high-level basis. It's just making sure people aren't checking in the same thing at the same time.
Right. And yeah, it prevents that. It prevents people from blowing maps up and them being unrecoverable. Like, oh God, did anyone save that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Has anyone not updated their Dropbox? Right. But it also gives you like pretty fine-grained control, and so you can see things like. Let me just hop somewhere that will have an easy one. So I go into phase 2, Let's see what's in here. Check out episode 3. No spoilers here. We'll go to Antioch 3.2. This one's had a lot of work in it. So if I do what's this command called svn log, every time somebody checks things in, they leave a comment on it, though it allows blank comments. So you can see lots of people have blank comments. Lots of people, not me, have blank comments, basically. But you can see here's all of the changes that have ever occurred in this folder. And so, like, did something blow up? Okay, roll back a revision. Was there something a couple of revisions ago? I think. Check it out, right? Merge it forward if I need to. It gives you a lot of fine-grained control. The other thing that we do, which I understand is a little unusual, is we work entirely in component folders until release. So when I say that, I mean, pull something up here again. So rather than having a .sc2 map, you save as component folders, which is so it saves every single component file separately. I'll split it out like this. You can see that map has 107 pieces of audio. Oh, and so there's radio in it, and somebody spits.
Spoilers.
Right. Yeah, spoilers. So what this does, this actually, using component folders with Subversion is really nice because it means that it logs only changes that you make. So if you make a change just the actor data, for example, then only that gets saved in Subversion, right? So it's a nice little save, which means that when your friends update, they're not having to suck down every map that's been worked on. They're just pulling down the little bits of maps.
Right.
So it really eases the bandwidth on them. It also lets you just get your hands dirty straight into markup, which I think that more often than not, would you say, Dine, you're working in straight with the XML files in the editor?
Like 50% of the time I am.
Okay, yeah. So those are our tools. We actually have a couple other tools that actually I've never really talked about. They're not super ready for prime time, but we have a little tool which I'd like to polish up and get released to the community soon called SoundMaker. So one of the really annoying things is getting 100-something audio files into the editor. So I have a script here that takes all of the names of your audio files and makes the XML entries for them to go in the various files. And I'm going to try to have this polished up over the weekend so people can use it if it's useful to anybody. We also have this thing that's hiding on my web space called SC Reference, which has complete cliffs, doodads, and tile sets available.
Oh, okay.
And I keep thinking that I'm going to make this look a little nicer. But this is a tool that we use regularly when we're putting things together. And so we're going to release it to community as well. I can't show you the doodads thing because for some reason on Chrome, it doesn't work for me. I guess I can pull Safari up actually.
But this is, I mean, it's very helpful that as a reference for other people. Again, it all kind of ties together with, and same with all the tools that you're showing off is it gives people the chance to use these things if it would benefit them. I think some people might work better, more kind of frazzled and you know, especially if you're working solo, you might not need as much version control, though it is good to save copies of previous versions.
Yeah,
before you destroy something.
I would be using version control. So. Yeah, no, and if anybody who's listening to this wants to learn more about these tools or wants help setting them up, I'd be happy to do so. Just to show a little bit here, this has live filtering on the search. So if you're looking for a specific thing, you think you know what it's called, you can put it right in the filter search. So people are free to use this. The URL is screference.op74.net, and it'll take you to the various bits. And maybe sometime it'll get a graphical refresh, so it's not just some black or white on black. But we find it very useful. We use it all the time.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think learning about the tools is, I think to like the layman viewer, isn't as interesting. But I think the idea behind when I do these interviews is I'm interested to. There's so many potential and creative map makers out there who like they want to get started and they don't know where to start, and being told about these different tools might be the push that they need to get into this. and they realize like, oh, it doesn't have to be that hard because I can use this, or I can go on SC2 Mapster and grab these assets, or I can go to LucidIguana's Doodads page and grab things straight from there. And like, it's not so manual that you have to do everything meticulously. I mean, that's how you grab from other people and you make an amalgamation of other things to create your own, and
Right.
that's how you get started.
And all you need is an idea. And I'm not saying a good idea. You just need an idea, right? It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. And this is another stumbling block that people run into when they're starting on something. Is right. You immediately jump into self-criticism mode. You think, well, this isn't good. I quit.
Mm-hmm.
There's a significant argument that this whole Antioch thing was a bad idea. And honestly, I think my wife might agree with you sometimes. But it's fine, right? Figure out why it's not good. Keep going. Something that I learned a long time ago, this phrase, play, fiddle, learn, which was taught to me by some folks on the Ozone Asylum, which is a Photoshop web forum back in the early 2000s, late 90s. And just means, mess around, do something, right? See how it worked, see how it didn't, learn from that, repeat the process.
Mm-hmm.
You're never going to be perfect, right? But you will get better. No matter how slowly, you will get better. So that's all I have to say, really.
Well, I mean, hey, if you make a map and you do it your first try, which is never really going to happen, but you do it, and then you release it and people like it, and you just go, yeah, I did that. But if you release a map and it's terrible, and you spend a month fixing it, and you finally get that iteration that it's 100% better than it was when it started, I feel like the sense of reward is that much more, because you know that you learned and you put time into it, and it's just a hugely rewarding experience.
Absolutely. And if you make a map and you release it, and people are really rude to you about it, call them on it.
Oh yeah.
We're all adults here, and there's no reason to speak to people disrespectfully, even if they did a bad job, right? So, and if you're worried that people are going to make fun of you for your map, send it to me. I'll be happy to look at it. I'm not good at this. So, don't be shy. And if you're afraid of criticism, then seek it privately. There are plenty of people who will give it without calling you out in public.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, I think we've been talking for a little over an hour now, so I think this is a good spot to stop. Did you guys want to add anything about upcoming episode 3, or just for possible map makers out there, anything?
Well,
personally,
about episode 3, we really would love to have some voice actors. We are especially seeking someone who either has an authentic Australian accent or has a really good Charlie Mox fake Australian accent. Oh, you know what I will say? You will never see Ian Anduin again.
Hey!
He is
Who was that guy?
He is staying in the islands of Tornad 3, never to be seen again.
What a strange character.
He has some weird backstory that you could read in the short fiction on the Antioch website, which we consider to be non-canon. I should say that publicly. The short fiction on the Antioch website can be interesting reading, but I wouldn't expect it to be truth for episode 3.
Cool.
Yeah, so we could definitely use voice actors. We could use all kinds of help. No matter what kind of help you'd like to offer, we will accept it.
Sounds good. Alrighty, well, on that note, I want to thank both of you for chatting with me. A lot of really, really good, helpful advice for map makers out there. Again, I just can't, I don't know how many times I can say it, but like, I love this community, and it's small, and it can get bigger, and you can see these guys have an awesome team, and a lot of them were close before they started, but they got more people and added them to their team, and like, you can get involved and do this, and it's fun. And
yeah, people, when you're working on a team, I guess I'll say this, okay, maybe this is my last bit, but teams are made up of people first and software second, right? Or people first and StarCraft 2 maps second, right? So as long as your focus is on being a good team member, which means being a good person and treating your comrades with respect and care, you'll go very far. So.
Sounds good. Excellent advice. All right. Well, thanks again for joining me, and I will see everybody next time. I'm going to be starting up Arlen Eclipse, which is the 3rd campaign of the Perfect Soldiers trilogy, and then on to StarCraft, I think Insurrection or Retribution, or whatever those weird old expansions were. Anyway.
The various shuns, yeah. Well,
I don't
you,
get
Jay.
those.
And let me just say thanks again for all the work that you've done promoting us and giving us some incredible feedback, drawing a great audience to us.
Hey,
And once again, thanks to the entire StarCraft 2 Mapster community who have been nothing but supportive. We could not be here without everybody's help.
you're very welcome. I'm just like you guys. I go to work and I come home, and this is what I do. It's a hobby, so it takes a village, I suppose. I don't know if that's a really fitting expression here. I take it back. You know what I mean? I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. All right.
We totally do. Yeah,
It takes a forum.
To make a map. Absolutely.
Cool. All right. Well, I'll talk to everyone later. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Bye.